So you're going through airport security.
Yep.
And you walk through the machine and they scan you, or sometimes they pull you to the side and they'll do a little pat down.
I've never had that happen to me. I can't imagine why. But anyway.
I always get pat down.
Really?
Like I have a 100% record.
You're kidding.
I am 1 for 1. I'm not 1 for 1. I'm like 8 for 8 my last 8 times going.
Well,
I never do not get pat down.
I feel uncomfortable with this.
Yeah. Well, all I'm saying is, like, I never have a reason to get pat down. They never find anything. I never accidentally had my belt on.
Like you never on a no-fly list?
No, it's always pat down. Okay, you're good to go, right? I don't know if there's something about my appearance, or maybe there's like a piece of metal in my body I'm just not aware of that sets off some alarm or sensor.
Most of us are pretty aware of pieces of metal that have been put in our body somewhere. Like I had a screw put into my knee to replace a broken kneecap. I remembered it was there. That's not something I forgot.
All I'm saying is 34 years is a long time to be on the earth. Things happen.
That's true.
You don't remember everything.
Also true.
There may be trace amounts of metal inside my body setting off airport security scanners.
Sure.
One lady, Taiwanese, was
A woman from Taiwan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, woman from Taiwan.
Okay.
She had very good reason to be pat down. So, security officials at the customs checkpoint on the island of Kinmen, beautiful place. Check it out sometime, David. She was returning from a visit from China, returning to Taiwan, and the officials, they were conducting routine security checks and noticed that she was walking kind of funnily, not with a funnel, like in a funny manner.
Right. There are two different types of funnily, and I'm glad you specified.
And so they began the pat down, and they discovered, as one does, that she had 24 gerbils strapped to her legs.
What?
That's 24. Not 2, not 4, but 24.
Was it like taped directly on the gerbil into her leg? Because those poor gerbils, are they in little baggies?
They're in, I'm not sure if they're little plastic baggies or they're like stockings, but they were like duct taped to her legs. She was wearing a skirt. And what gave it away was the, I guess, the hitch in her giddy up.
There you go. That'll get you.
And so, unfortunately, these 24 gerbils had to be euthanized.
Oh.
Apparently, her explanation was that she had bought them for some friends in Taiwan and was just bringing them back. Because how else would you transport 24? I can't carry 24 gerbils in my arms. I think the most logical conclusion is that I would tape them to a body part or two. I mean, I don't know. How does one transport 24 gerbils, David?
I don't know. I'll ask the cocaine smugglers we usually cover on this show. I bet they could come up with a more creative solution.
And that's exactly what the customs officials thought. They thought this was a trial run for future drug smuggling.
Because what better way to imitate drugs than with gerbils?
I'll say this, though. We've covered a lot of very unimaginative drug smugglers. True. In our short history on this podcast. Probably an inordinate amount of drug smugglers.
Yeah, that takes a large portion of our time.
And so I'm just glad, whatever you do, take pride in what you do, right? And so I'm glad they're doing some R&D. And I hope they always get caught, because we do not need drug smugglers. We do not need drugs filling our streets. But I'm just glad they're taking some pride in their work.
All right.
Poor
gerbils. I feel bad for the gerbils. Like, how long were they under there?
Yeah.
This is Subjectively Correct Sports, the only show in the known universe featuring David and Anthony talking about sports and other things like gerbil smuggling. Sounds like a bad sport. All right. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play. Subscribe to the podcast. Give us 5 stars. Leave a review. Tell us what you like about the show. You can get in touch with us by emailing us at our email, subjectivelycorrect@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from our fan.
Hey, fan.
The first thing we want to talk about today is kind of the only thing to talk about today, except for maybe like some
Australian Open tennis.
Yeah, Serena Williams beat Halep. Did you see that?
No.
Didn't look like an easy match for her. Of course, Serena's trying to recover from that major injury.
Of pushing a human outside of her body?
Yeah, that's not easy to do, so I've been told. I still don't know
Gaping
if it's that
wound.
hard. It can't be that hard.
Oh. Oh,
It can't be that
I
hard.
grossed myself out with that. Okay.
You grossed the world out with that. I was trying to ignore it and move on, but you just want to just. Anyway, why do you? Yeah.
I'm scraping my tongue because that joke came off of it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how we.
No, we're not talking Australian Open.
How do you recover from that? Okay,
So
so
usually takes 6 weeks or so. Then you follow up with your OB and they check, make sure everything. Sometimes there's stitches that have to be removed if it was particularly difficult, but lots of hydration. Sometimes bed rest. Any other questions?
about giving birth?
Yes.
No, not really.
Okay.
I do have a question about Chiefs Patriots.
Okay.
My question is this: why again? Why again? We were gonna have something different this year. We're gonna have something fun and entertaining.
Something new.
Something new.
Young.
Yeah.
Mobile.
Tell me about it. And we didn't get that. We got the same old stuff.
But we
The
knew
same old stuff.
this was laughably improbable and totally foreseeable.
That's the thing. Like everyone's talking about. Everyone in the Patriots organization is talking about, bet on us. Like, everyone's got us as an underdog here. No one believed in us. No one believed in us.
Yeah, Tom Brady. I know we're supposed to suck, right? I think that was the quote.
Like, I think everyone that understands and covers and follows football know that you'd never say the Patriots suck.
No.
Because they never do, especially playing in that division. That division is awful. It's terrible. So get this. Their point differential this year, the Patriots' point differential was plus 111.
So they scored 111 more points than they gave up.
Correct. In their division, they were plus 110. And plus 1 against everybody else.
Yeah.
That division is terrible, and they are so lucky to be in that division with this revolving door of bad coaching decisions. And if you have a bad coach and you want to get rid of him, guess what? Someone in the division is just going to pick him up. Adam Gase going to the Jets. By the way, Adam Gase's eyes, someone legitimately needs to check on that. Because that was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my life. Like, did you see the taco video?
Yeah, this is the New York Jets' new head coach at his introductory press conference. He's doing this. He's like
For our
just looking around.
for our podcast listeners, imagine crazy eyes looking all over the room for something that might hit you in any second.
His eyes were playing a game of Pong all by themselves.
Yes, that's a great way to describe it. Like he had a new VR headset that was invisible, and he was playing Pong with his eyes, with his invisible VR headset. Anyway,
But okay, you say that about the Patriots. Yes, they have an easy division, but they still have to play the winner of the other. I mean, they still have to play who they play in the playoffs.
And
it's not a cakewalk.
and they play them on the road, and they lost this year.
No, but I'm saying in the playoffs.
Regular season. Oh, playoffs. Okay,
Yeah.
regular season. They weren't good on the road in the regular season.
No, they lost to like 5 non-playoff teams.
Yes.
It was a rough regular season as far as regular seasons for the Patriots go.
Right, but as we all know, the regular season doesn't matter all that much. Unless you're the Chargers. In which case, having a home game...
It's all that matters.
Yes, having a home game against the Patriots would have changed a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, clearly the regular season matters, but once you get there, if you're the Patriots, if you're any NFL team really, who knows what's going to go your way or not go your way, right?
There's this saying in sports, they flip the switch. Right, you hear this a lot about like basketball teams. They're down by like 20 points, and then all of a sudden they pull even or go ahead, and the analyst that's commentating on the game says, "Oh, they flipped the switch," right? Or they get to a point in the season, they're 10 games under 500, and then they roll off 15 straight. Oh, they flipped the switch. Where is the switch, David? Where does Belichick keep the switch?
You know what the
Because he knows
switch is?
exactly when to flip it.
You know where the switch is? The switch is in schedules. The switch is in injuries. The switch is in referees' calls or non-calls.
I think the switch is you got the yellow flag in the right pocket and the switch in the left pocket.
Oh, that's on you, refs. That was shade directed straight at you.
Not a good weekend for the refs. We're gonna get into it.
Yeah, a little scary. But I don't know. You mentioned something that I thought was funny. You heard someone mention that Andy Reid coached another playoff dud.
Yeah,
and you had some feelings about that.
Yeah, I guess my better instincts. I was listening to some sports radio this morning, and someone who's made the claim that Andy Reid has had some playoff failures. He has coached the team to a Super Bowl, but he said, "Is this just another playoff dud for Andy Reid?" And okay, they lost, and yeah, they didn't come out of the gates firing. They they went scoreless in the first half.
That was rough.
Yes, that was rough. But the Patriots also didn't look great in the first half. Both teams, it took a while for them to really get in a rhythm. And
Well, Tom Brady threw 3 interceptions. One was taken away by a penalty, but he threw 2 interceptions that game.
the Chiefs had opportunities to score in the first half, but player execution was poor at times and in very critical times.
Yeah.
But if you look at the game plan, like, they did enough to win.
The Chiefs did?
The Chiefs did enough to win.
They absolutely did.
I mean, they went to overtime, and if there was one thing I guess I criticize Andy Reid for, it was, or was this McVay? No, I mean, maybe which was the game where they kicked a field goal instead of going for it? On like the fourth, there was like fourth and 2.
Both. I think it happened both teams.
I think there was some play, maybe it was early in the second half, where they were down at the goal line, and it was like a 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 or 4th and goal, whatever it was, from the 1 or 2, and they kicked a field goal. Like, that was like the only thing I really complained about. And the defense didn't show up, unfortunately. But I don't think this is a loss you pin on Andy Reid. There was some clock management issues I think are worth talking about. That's his MO, kind of like, if there's a critique to make of Andy Reid, it's that late game, he's not great with clock management.
Like, he could have run the ball more and run more clock off instead of scoring really quickly, but, I mean...
Yeah, they had the ball. Well, there was a particular... When they scored, with about 2 minutes to go, they ran a play right before the 2-minute warning. They could have at least... And I think it was first down at that point. They could have... I mean, I don't know that you want to necessarily give up a down, but they could have let the play clock expire, or let the game clock go down to the 2-minute warning, run a play, run just like a run right up the middle. If you score, okay. If you don't, great, you get 40 more seconds off the clock.
Right.
But they scored right before the 2-minute warning.
As soon as you saw that, you sent me a text. Too much time.
Yeah.
And I thought the same thing, which is crazy that no matter what happens, anytime we see that happening, no matter what's been happening earlier in the game, we always think that's too much time that you're giving Tom Brady. Yeah. There are very few players in sports where you feel that way. It's not like you go into the 9th inning and you're only up 2 and their closer's coming in and you're thinking, oh man, they still have an inning. It's very rare where you're up 5 and there's like 2 minutes left and you're thinking, oh, that's too much time, except for maybe the Warriors. So there's a very small group of athletes or teams where you give them a little bit of time in a clutch situation, and you're still convinced that team or that person's going to pull it out.
Yeah.
It's only reserved for really great teams, and Tom Brady's one of them. Yeah,
it was in this particular situation. You don't play for the tie, right? They have a chance to score, and if you score, you score a touchdown. If you score a touchdown, you go up, right? Yeah. They were down by 3 at the time, and so it may be crazy. Advanced stance may not back me up here, but I almost would have rather let the game clock go down to the 2-minute warning, take a knee, get the game clock down under a minute, and you probably still have 2 downs at that point. Run the ball, do play action, whatever you got to do on that 3rd down, and if you have to, you kick a field goal and tie it, but you don't let Tom Brady have a chance in regulation too, because Tom Brady, they could have gone down. They ended up kicking a field goal. They could have gone down and scored a touchdown or more. Right. And so,
and then that drive that Patrick Mahomes put together to get a field goal, it was amazing. So they went they went 70 yards. Not 70.
Like
they went
40 seconds.
Yeah, less than that.
Yeah,
it was crazy with no timeouts or 1 timeout, something like that.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just so cool to watch. And so when he drove them down there and they made that field goal, I was like, okay, the legend of Patrick Mahomes begins growing now. Mm-hmm. And I was so excited for him, and I was so excited to see someone besides Tom Brady doing that clutch stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then the coin flip happens.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, well, I'm glad the Chiefs played so hard, but their season was over.
Yeah, but let's pause real quick before the coin toss, because there were like 4 things that happened before the coin toss.
Yeah.
Right? There was... Okay, and this goes back to Andy Reid coaching your dad. No, he did what he needed to do to get his team in a position to win, notwithstanding a few things that were there were 3 really crucial instant replay reviews that went the Patriots' way.
Yeah.
All of which were like 50-50.
Yeah. Some saw it some way, some saw it. Tony Romo was like, well, I see it this way. Gene Steratore was like, I see it the other way.
The first one was the muffed punt by Edelman, that the debate was whether or not Edelman touched the ball.
I think it was pretty clear he didn't, though.
I think he didn't touch it, but they called it on the field that he did.
Yeah.
And there were some angles where you thought, oh, maybe he did. Others where it looks pretty clear he didn't. That one I'm okay with.
Yeah.
And it was actually negated anyways 2 plays later when the Chiefs intercepted Brady.
Yep.
Right. And then...
Do you hear Tony Romo say, ball don't lie? You didn't hear
Yeah.
that?
Oh,
He
yes,
said,
that's
they have
right.
a saying in basketball, ball don't lie.
No, he didn't say ball don't lie.
Ball doesn't lie.
He said ball doesn't lie.
Did he say the ball doesn't lie?
Maybe.
He said, you know what they say at Rutgers.
The country club version of ball don't lie, right?
I guess when you're on the country club playing golf, you don't say ball don't lie when it just
Yeah.
like happens to roll in or something.
But that just made me love Tony Romo more, right?
It was endearing.
America has a love affair with Tony Romo right now.
As they should.
Yeah, he was he was the MVP of that game.
Absolutely. MVP of the league.
Maybe.
I mean, the way he was calling everything that happened, it was ridiculous. It would be like, one of my favorite things he said was, now, they should have come back to this earlier, basically calling out the
Yeah.
Patriots. And he was like, okay, so he's killing the play right now, which means he's going to switch it. It usually means there's a motion through and then a run to the right. That's
And it's
exactly what happened.
It's happening like 2 seconds later.
Yes.
Right? It's like I'm not totally unconvinced that he's not from the future, right? Like he's watched these games and he's come back, and we need to get a photo of him like from when he stopped playing to now, just see how much he's aged, right? Just to see. I just want to cross it off the list, make sure he's not from the future.
I have an alternate idea here.
Okay.
Maybe he really, really understands football on a level that a normal person does not.
I'm skeptical.
You're skeptical? You're skeptical of that?
How could he not ever win a playoff game in Dallas? If your theory is true that he's just really good at knowing football, okay? How could he not take the Dallas Cowboys in the decade or so he was their quarterback past the first round of the playoffs? How is this possible? That the football savant Tony Romo, America's sweetheart, how could he not will his team to victory? How could he not foresee, T.O.'s going to be open right here. He's going to be man-to-man. Why did this not happen?
Football.
Football's lame sometimes.
It is. It's exciting, and then it sucks, and it rips
That
your
was
heart
the
out.
best, worst game. I think okay.
They were the worst, best games.
The worst, best game. I made a horrible mistake last night. We're going to get back to the game. I made a horrible mistake last night.
Yeah?
I let my son watch to the end.
Oh.
And the mistake isn't that he was up later than he normally is.
Sure.
It's that he's now a Patriots fan.
Oh.
And there's nothing wrong with being a Patriots fan per se. My mom's a Patriots fan. We've got Boston ties in the family.
Which you do?
Yeah, my grandma's from Boston. My mom lived in Boston for a while.
I didn't know that.
Which hurts my heart being an LA sports fan.
Right, I was going to say. As you wear the Dodgers hat.
Yeah. And so he's now a Patriots fan. And that's okay, fine. Like, that may work out well this year and next year. What I'm afraid is that Brady's only got a couple years left.
Yeah, we said that 5 years ago.
Okay, but really, by the time he's 50, he's going to be done, right?
I don't know.
We think.
He's the Nolan Ryan of football.
Belichick will retire at some point, okay? And when that happens, the Patriots are just going to be like any other team and maybe win a Super Bowl once every 15 years.
No, they're going to be in a garbage division still, though.
They will, but they'll be garbage as well.
But the best of all the garbage.
And so my fear is that my son is now a fan of a team that will win the next couple years and then like never again, and he'll have that anguish of rooting for a team that just never wins.
That's true sports fandom. Like, I was a 49ers fan as a kid because they won. I followed the 49ers because my Grandpa Larry, who the only place we call him Grandpa Larry is here on the show. Grandpa Larry lived in San Francisco for a while, was a 49ers fan. I started following Joe Montana. When Steve Young became the quarterback there, my dad went to BYU at the same time Steve Young did. I became a 49ers fan. They won a Super Bowl when I was very young, and I've been a 49ers fan ever since. It's been a sad couple of decades for 49ers fans, right? So I feel like he's kind of on the same path. I can help him through it. I'll be like his sports godfather.
Yeah.
Or you can, because, the Dodgers.
He also said, but I'm from Dallas, so I also like the Cowboys.
What?
He likes the Patriots and the Cowboys.
That's cool. It's just weird. There's one of my favorite TV or radio personalities. He's a huge Browns fan because when he was really young, his grandma bought him Cleveland Browns plates for his birthday one time.
Nice.
He's been a Browns fan ever since.
That's cool.
Unfortunately for him. Oh, Baker Mayfield's exciting though.
Okay, so you have the muffed punt, which didn't end up costing the Chiefs.
Anything.
On the final Patriots drive in regulation, the Patriots should have been stopped at least twice.
Yeah.
Once, there was an offsides call on Dee Ford. Okay, he lined up offsides. True. On that play, Tom Brady didn't know he was lined up offsides. I don't think they threw the flag right away.
They didn't.
Yeah. And he threw an interception. The interception was negated by a late flag for the offsides.
And what normally is supposed to happen when you have an offsides, as soon as the ball is snapped and the line just sees that, the flag goes up in the air. Aaron Rodgers does it all the time where he sees someone offsides, they throw the flag right away, he throws the ball deep because it's basically a free play. But none of that was going on here. It was so late. And honestly, I feel like in a lot of late game situations, the refs keep the flag or the whistle in their pocket. You've heard that
a little
phrase
bit more
before.
discretion.
Yeah, where they're like, did that really affect the play?
Mm-hmm.
And then when they saw that it was an interception and Dee Ford didn't rush the passer any better than he normally does or would have, he didn't get any advantage. He didn't gain any advantage from that. But it cost the Chiefs the game.
Yeah, well, it would have sealed the victory for sure.
Yeah.
Right. And then later on in the drive, Hogan makes a catch where the ball is completely separated from his body, and then the ball he's kind of cradling it as he hits the ground. The ball definitely hits the ground. It was ruled a catch on the field, and they didn't overturn it.
The play stood, which means they didn't have evidence. They didn't have enough evidence to reverse the call.
And I watched the replay like everyone else. In my mind, based on how they've called these things over the last few years, it was not a catch. I think the ground aided in his control of the ball. But it went the Patriots' way, like many calls seem to go late in the game. And I'm not a Patriots hater. I was excited for the Chiefs. I wanted the Chiefs to win. But I tried to be objective in like how I saw this game being reffed.
Right.
And
like I told your wife, we were watching the Saints New Orleans game, and she said, "Who are you rooting for?" And I said, "Football." Like I just want to see good football.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how I felt with Chiefs Patriots too, for the most part.
So you have this handful of things that affect the outcome in the first four quarters, right?
Yeah.
But then you end up tied. Awesome finish. Both teams played amazingly well offensively in the fourth quarter. Tons of points scored. You head into the overtime, and who gets the ball is decided by, of course, a coin flip.
Yep. A coin flip to see who goes to the Super Bowl.
And unlike every other major sport, in football, if you score a touchdown on the first possession, you win. The other team doesn't get a chance to match your score. It's not baseball, a top of the inning, bottom of the inning. It's not basketball, a 5 minutes back and forth.
It's not like college football even, where you can match the score.
Yeah. And the common retort to this is, well, defense matters too, and if you've played for an hour already, and if you can't stop them one time, you deserve to lose. I would generally agree with that, except that the league is so geared to benefit and advantage the offensive side of the ball that it is so much harder, especially late in the game when the defenses are so tired. It's so hard to stop a team.
Yeah.
And you just had the feeling, just like you had in the Super Bowl against the Falcons when the Patriots got they won the coin flip to go into overtime and they marched down and scored. You just knew whoever got the coin flip was going to score and probably score a touchdown.
Well, the Falcons hadn't scored the entire second half though, so maybe they wouldn't have.
Maybe not. But at least in this game, you had the feeling whoever won the coin flip was going to win the game.
Matt Ryan is a farce.
But in that game, Matt Ryan was the MVP. Patrick Mahomes, he's, I think, going to be the MVP. The NFL has a system in place where the MVP doesn't have a chance to win the game at the end because of luck, because of a coin flip. Is it that much harder? Is the reason to not do it because, well, if we let them do it, that's just more football, more time on the field, more prone to injury? I mean, is an extra possession that much more detrimental to an NFL player? I don't know what the reason is, and I don't know if the NFL has a stated reason as to why that's the rule.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if Patrick Mahomes had a ruptured spleen, he would have wanted one more chance to go down the field and score.
Yeah.
I don't think the harm to the body or anything. One more possession isn't gonna. They're gonna want to go down and score. Maybe they change it in the playoffs to where you have a chance to match it, and that way in the regular season you don't have extra plays on these hurt bodies. But maybe in the playoffs you do the back and forth kind of thing where they do it in college, right? I mean, that would make more sense to me when these games matter so much. But then people would say, well, the games in the regular season matter so much too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I think the general consensus in the sports fan right now and the football fan right now is you got to change the overtime, because for 2 major games now, the Patriots happened to get the coin flip at the end, and they were able to win.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer for Matt Ryan and for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, you ask the casual NFL fan, or you tell the casual NFL fan or the non-NFL fan the overtime rules, and 9 times out of 10 they'll say, well, that's not fair.
Yeah.
Right? And if the fan base is saying, well, that's not fair, like, we should really take a hard look at changing these rules, especially for the games that matter most.
Yeah, good luck with that, though. Good luck having the NFL change anything.
Is Tom Brady still good? Is he still elite? He actually didn't have a great game.
No, he threw 2.5 interceptions.
He was 30 for 46, 348 yards, which is that's fine.
But compiler, right?
Yeah.
He had to do it. He needed 46 throws to do it.
1 touchdown, to 2/3 interceptions because 1 was negated by the offsides. But Brady's considered the GOAT for one reason. No, I mean, he's had a lot of really good offensive stats during the regular season as well. But go ahead.
Rings.
For rings and for late game performance, he's clutch, as the kids say. Right?
Did the kids say that?
I don't know. I don't know what kids say.
Either do I.
On the final, what was it? Final 3 scoring drives, he went 11 for 16.
That's pretty good.
147 yards.
Also good.
He was 5 for 5 on 3rd down conversions.
That is the best.
Yeah.
That is the most important stat.
And if you go and watch, like Google Romo highlights, Tony Romo highlights, you'll see 4 or 5 of these 5 for 5 3rd down conversions where Romo calls out ahead of time, and it's like it's not a 3rd and 1. These are 3rd and long, 3rd and 8, 9, 10, and yeah, he's putting the ball exactly where it needs to be, and his receivers are making plays. And you know, when you talk about greatness, it's capitalizing on the opportunity, right? Aaron Rodgers may have the greatest arm talent in the NFL, but Brady is considered the greatest because he's so often in a position to win and so often capitalizes on that position. And that's due to much more than him, his ability. It's the coaching, it's the players around him, it's everyone buying into the system, and it's him executing almost flawlessly in these types of situations.
Absolutely.
All right, time for we've had a little bit of a break from the hottest minute of the podcast. I think this is the first time in 2019, right?
This is the first Dave's Hot Take Minute in 2019. You know what that means?
David's
Nothing.
feeling hot, hot, hot. He's feeling hot, hot, hot. It's David's Hot Take Minute.
Hold up, I misspelled the word. I want to say misspell. I think it was a typo, which is absolutely different. I know how to spell that word. It was just mistyped.
Is it the?
It's a typo. Huh? That was and.
Oh.
Can I go now?
Oh, yeah, please.
For 1 year.
Go ahead and go.
For 1 year, just 1 year, I want the Patriots to miss the playoffs. I would be concerned for the safety of Boston, though. Notice how I didn't say the people of Boston. I think the city itself might be in danger, like fall into the sea levels of danger. It would be like a post-apocalyptic novel. And could you imagine Boston sports radio and television if they had the Saints no-call situation go against them? I don't even want to think about it. Oh man, I'm thinking about it. I'm going to have nightmares for a month. I'm going to try to distract myself from that horrorscape by talking about something pleasant. Tony Romo is so fun to watch call a game. So fun. The craziest part of all of that to me is if he can predict all of this stuff, why can't the Patriots' opponents? which leads me to wonder if they can predict that stuff, but there just isn't any way to effectively stop it. Which leads me to wonder why they don't just do that stuff. Why don't the Patriots do that stuff that was working at the end of the game for the whole game? Which leads me also to think that none of us watching and most people who are paid millions of dollars a year to understand what they are watching don't really understand what we're watching.
I think I agree.
Football is crazy. I feel like Luck is the MVP of football this year.
Andrew?
Not Andrew Luck. But the concept of things going right for you at just the right time without you doing anything to earn it. Why are old guys with chains from 25 yards away from the ball determining whether or not a team gets a first down? Don't we have lasers and sensors and stuff? When is the NFL going to get some lasers and sensors? I'm sure tons of tech companies would line up to be the official laser and sensor sponsor of the NFL. Companies might even do it for free for the publicity. Hey, Anthony?
Yeah.
What's a catch? Todd Gurley had to use an exercise bike to stay loose during the NFC Championship game. He might be rested and healthy for the Super Bowl, if they even want to use him. I wanted Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl so bad. Oh, does anyone remember Kareem Hunt?
Kareem who?
LeBron James and Steph Curry are the most valuable players in basketball. When they are out, everything changes in a very bad way for their teams. You know, love him or hate him, Tom Brady might become the greatest winner of all time with another Super Bowl victory this year. He's doing it in a tougher sport and in a tougher era than Michael Jordan ever did. Some of the cast of the movie The Mighty Ducks was at an Anaheim Ducks game yesterday. Anaheim lost. Winning in real life is hard. Okay, so this was Anthony's idea for ending the Hot Take Minute. Let's give it a try. Get some! I don't love it.
So I go up to your point about the where was it?
Lasers and sensors?
No, Patriots going up.
Which part?
This
is great. This is a great podcast. Anthony's looking at my laptop.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that being able to predict it. Okay, so I remember, playing football growing up, that coaches would always say, we should be able to tell the other team what play we're running, and we should execute it so well that it doesn't matter that they know what we're running, that we'll still have a positive play, right? We'll still be able to do what we want to do.
We're going to run with this guy in this hole, and we're still going to get it because we're bigger and tougher and we're men. Right? That was the attitude, right?
Yeah, that was the attitude. Also, Tony Romo is a football savant. I'm coming around to that. He's probably not a cyborg from the future. But are his talents wasted in the booth? Now, he's doing a phenomenal job there.
He's so fun, yeah.
I think any team would hire him as an assistant coach, possibly a head coach. But I think, could you imagine him up above as an offensive coordinator or even defensive coordinator? If he knows what the other team's offense is doing, even though he never played defense or maybe hasn't since like high school, I think he could call out to the defense and say, hey, here's what they're going to do. But again, if you can run your play to perfection, how much does it matter if the other team knows what you're doing or not?
Apparently, the whole stadium can know that they're going to go to Bronco at the top in a good matchup, and it doesn't matter because he's Frankenstein, who mated with a polar bear and was trained to catch footballs.
Huh. Is that a diss on his parents?
No, I'm sure his parents are lovely. I know nothing about them.
Don't either.
I know nothing about them other than they made this monster football player guy. That's all I know about them. Don't try to turn this into a me versus the Gronkowskis thing.
All right, so
I would win that fight.
That was one half of a very exciting championship weekend of football.
Yeah.
The Saints and Rams also had a super exciting game.
It was.
It wasn't as much back and forth at the end, but there was some, and it came to overtime as well. And we're not going to break down this game as much as we did the last one, but what we do want to talk about is perhaps the biggest no call in conference championship history.
Maybe in NFL playoffs history. That was one of the most egregious misses I've ever seen.
So if you haven't seen the play, with the game tied 20-20, fourth quarter, a minute 48 to play, Saints with the ball at the Rams 13-yard line. It's a 3rd and 10. Breeze throws the ball to Tommy Lee Lewis, and Lewis, about a half second before the ball would get there,
that's generous.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the ball was probably in the air for like a whole 0.75 seconds, but
Yeah, okay.
it did seem like it was a lot sooner than
I mean,
that. I did that for the joke.
There was a definite beat, right? I mean, like it wasn't bang bang.
No, it was not.
Okay, he was hit by Nickel Roby Coleman. I assume that's how you pronounce his name.
Those are great names.
I know,
football
Tommy
players.
Lee Lewis, Nickel Roby Coleman.
I'm down with those names. Okay,
I like
keep
the
going.
triple name.
Yeah.
Hits him well before the ball gets there. Okay, if he wouldn't have hit him, they would have got the first down. They would have been able to milk the clock to 0, kick a field goal to win, or punch it in the end zone.
Also, if he just would have turned and looked at the ball, it could have been a pick six the other way because he was clearly
That's
early
true.
enough on the play to hit him before the ball got there. If he just would have turned and looked at the ball,
That's true. And so, what everyone watching the game, and probably everyone except one or two very important people, namely the refs,
Ooh.
in the building saw was pass interference. The defender makes contact, tackles the receiver before the ball gets there. And there is no flag on the play. And as a fan watching, and I'm sure the Saints coaching staff is wondering, how does this happen? How can this happen? There's a referee right there, right? There's a referee on the sideline that's looking exactly for this. How does this happen?
I'm baffled. I have no idea. And there is no answer. And I was surprised when Sean Payton came out for his press conference and he said, I just got off the phone with the league. How often does a coach, as soon as the game is over, call the league office? I bet that happens never. But I know that someone answered that phone. It was like, hello, NFL headquarters. This is Becky speaking. And it's like, Becky, this is Sean Payton. Let me put you through to Mr. Goodell. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that call went straight through.
Mm-hmm.
And I just can't imagine that conversation.
Well, Peyton said that either in that phone conversation, I think it was maybe one of the refs after the game, talked to him and apologized and said, yes, we missed the call.
That's not a good
But
look.
not only did we miss that call, there was a second foul on the play. It was helmet to helmet. So if it wasn't PI, it was helmet to helmet. Either way, it's a first down on the goal line.
Let me help you feel better, Sean. You're right. We messed up. But if it makes you feel any better, we didn't just mess up once. We messed up twice. Enjoy your summer.
In fact, we probably missed 10 more calls that would have benefited your team throughout the game.
I mean, they absolutely did. Both ways.
Yeah.
Both ways. There were calls missed both ways.
Yeah, and the Rams fans were out on Twitter afterwards pointing
I bet
out
they were.
the 4 or 5 egregious non-calls. There was a face mask on Goff at the goal line where the Rams ended up settling for a field goal that would have put them, first and goal at the 1. And that, could have changed the game as well. So, yes, there are missed calls both ways, but in that critical situation, that's just a call you have to make. You can't miss it because it
Well, it wasn't like the D Ford offsides thing where it had no effect on the play.
Right.
This
No, that is
absolutely
the play.
destroyed the play. It was the play on the ball, right?
Yeah, and it almost delegitimizes the game, right? When
That's the feeling. At least the fans, I know the Saints feel that way. I know many of the Saints players woke up this morning feeling like they were robbed of a chance to play in that game. Everything that happened before that play and everything that happened after that play did not matter because of what happened in that play.
And when you have professional sports leagues partnering with Las Vegas sports books, casinos, online betting establishments, and
Are you trying to say this nicely?
I'm trying to say this nicely.
Why?
when you're commingling betting with your league and your product is subject to judgment made by humans and the significant human error involvement that can swing millions of dollars or billions of dollars one way or another, you're opening yourself up for lawsuits. You're opening yourself up for severe damages because if you can...
Not to mention the referee's kneecaps are now in danger.
Yeah, because this is no longer a fair bet, right? If any bet could be fair, right? Once you get into allegations of fixing games, that relationship is over and the league is potentially in jeopardy. I mean, it's a much bigger deal than just the Saints not being able to go to the Super Bowl.
There are a few things that you do not mess with. Unfortunately, I've dealt in industries where I've messed with all three of these things. You don't mess with people's healthcare, you don't mess with people's food, and you don't mess with people's money.
Yeah.
You just don't do it. And when very wealthy, very powerful people all of a sudden have millions of dollars taken away from them because your league can't take care of its crap. Like Anthony said, that's when trouble starts.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, it's one thing if the Rams, defended the ball well, or it was like 50-50, right? But when it's blatant, it just invites the criticism. Does the league have a stake in who wins this game?
Now, I have a question. This play reminded me of that Boston Red Sox play where the referee called the guy safe when he was clearly out by a mile. So we don't usually think of this angle, but I've been thinking about it a lot. These referees are probably in danger for their lives because some crazy fan wants to do something. I'm sure they're receiving death threats. I mean, crazy people on Twitter and social media will find the person, find their address and their phone number and post it, which is not cool and unsafe. So if you're one of those people, if our listener is doing that, please stop, listener. But these people, these referees, are put in terrible positions every day where they cannot do anything right.
Yeah.
And then when they do something like this that is clearly egregiously wrong, and they're told that, they tell the head coach about it after the game. I mean, that's what... I can't imagine being in that position. They must be scared for their lives every day, especially when they were still in New Orleans.
Right. So, okay. It happened. What do you do about it? Right?
You can't do anything about it, right?
There are actually some people calling for a redo, which is allowable.
It is?
In the NFL rulebook. Okay? Can I read the NFL rulebook?
Please.
Okay.
Verbatim. Don't summarize. Don't paraphrase. Word for word. Give me the NFL rulebook, please.
Okay. Rule 17, Section 2, Article 1 of the NFL rulebook states...
Off to a good start.
The commissioner has the sole authority to investigate and take appropriate disciplinary and or corrective measures if any club action, non-participant interference or calamity occurs in an NFL game which the commissioner deems so extraordinarily unfair or outside the accepted tactics encountered in professional football,
including refereeing,
that such action has a major effect on the result of the game.
That majorly affected the result of the game.
So this is a pretty vague provision in the rule book. Right? If I'm arguing for the Saints, I can say this was a calamity that was extraordinarily unfair.
Right. Well, and also, I don't like that it says, investigate and take appropriate disciplinary and or corrective measures. I don't like that because it doesn't say what you can do. And so what you run into is this little rule that is hardly ever seen or looked at. And now Roger Goodell can basically set a precedent.
Yeah.
Where he's like, you know what I'm going to do? Because it was, whatever he wants to say, because it was in with 2 minutes, because it clearly affected the outcome of the game, because we can all assume that the Rams would have scored on the next play or two, or even on that play, or the next play because it was a foul, that I'm going to award the Saints a win, or I'm going to replay the fourth quarter, or whatever he decides to do is going to set a precedent. And I mean, that's just something I don't think he's going to mess with.
You do not want to go down.
They call that a slippery slope.
Yeah. And so... my hunch is that he will not do anything here. Not my... my guess...
I'm going to have to cut that out of the podcast because I checked his back for a hunt.
It's very common, David. Millions of people have it.
It's not a joke, Jim.
My guess is that Goodell will do nothing.
Yeah.
Because if he does something here, he's going to have to do something next time this happens.
And it's going to happen. It's going to happen in the preseason. It's going to happen in the regular season. I'm not going to stop talking. It's going to happen next postseason. It's going to keep happening.
Yeah.
Because the system we have isn't the best for refereeing violent football. It's not.
And I want to talk about what we can do about refereeing in a second. But this should never have happened. This scenario should never have occurred.
Nope.
The Saints had the ball at the 13-yard line.
Okay.
1st and 10.
Yeah.
With about 2 minutes to go.
Sure.
They could have run the ball 3 times.
Yeah.
Kicked a field goal to go up 23-20. And there would have been roughly 40 seconds on the clock. Now, you give the other team an opportunity to tie or win.
With a field goal.
With a field goal. But playing the odds, I like my chances at home.
Yeah.
Of going up by 3 with 40 seconds with a young quarterback
who hasn't been playing that great. He didn't have a great game, and the Rams offense didn't look like the Rams offense we were used to seeing in the regular season.
That's right. And so, yeah, the worst sequence of events happened. We were talking about this when it was happening. First down, incomplete pass, right? So the clock doesn't move.
Yep.
right? Second down, I think maybe they ran it and Rams called a timeout.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because they had one timeout, didn't they?
yeah, something like that. And then your third down, what should have been pass interference or helmet to helmet, wasn't called, and so it goes down as another incomplete pass. So practically no time comes off the clock. And what do? They settle for a field goal, and the Rams now all of a sudden have a minute and a half to go down the field. They do. They kick, what was it, 40-something, 56-yarder, whatever it was.
57-yarder.
57-yarder. Tie it up, send it to overtime.
Oh, no, the winner was a 57-yarder.
Okay, well, it was a long field goal regardless. Tie it up, go into overtime, win the game. So maybe a little bit on Peyton for not calling just 3 straight runs.
But how great for him to be able to deflect responsibility over to the referees.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So yes, I made egregious errors that Andy Reid would have been torn apart for if he did them. But those referees, am I right?
Yeah. And in this call, I don't want to overstate, but it was so bad that the players, the Rams players, even knew how bad it was. Todd Gurley went on social media after the game and posted a picture, or liked a picture, I can't remember, I think he maybe just liked a picture, of him trading. So it's common when two athletes after a game on opposing teams, they'll trade jerseys, right? Like show of respect, right? There's a picture of him trading jerseys with a ref holding up a Todd Gurley jersey.
I saw that. Him holding up the stripes.
Him holding up the stripes, the referee uniform. And, I mean, that play, I mean, it felt like the refs were pulling for the Rams, right?
A little bit.
But here's the thing. I'm not mad at the refs. No. I feel like we're asking them to fight a fire with buckets of water. Okay? When we have a perfectly functioning engine and fire hydrant and high-capacity hose standing by, and we're just giving them buckets of water. Okay? We have so much technology. You talked about lasers and sensors.
Lasers and sensors, baby.
Now, I'm not saying remove all the refs and just have one eye in the sky that makes a call that goes up on the scoreboard. I think having some refs on the field is still important, and there are some things they can call faster that are obvious.
Especially there's certain things you can hear going on that a robot may not be able to identify.
But it's not like the NFL over its history hasn't made changes to how the game's officiated. I just decided to look back at the history of officiating in the NFL.
Ooh, I bet that was a fun dive.
It was. So, starting in the 40s is when they went to the 3...
We're starting in the 40s?
Yeah. Okay, so I noticed a pattern.
Did you?
Yes. Every 15 to 20 years, there's a significant referee, umpiring, officiating change.
Like in all of sports or specifically the NFL?
Specifically the NFL.
Okay.
15 to 20 years. All right, it started in the 40s. You had you had the referee and umpire, and they called them a line judge or something like that, right? About 15 years later, they added another. And 15 years later, they added another. 15 years later, they added another. Okay? So now they have their full complement of six referees on the field. In the late 80s, they added... instant replay. Sorry. Yes. Instant replay?
In the 80s?
Yes. In the late 80s, they added instant replay. It went away for a brief time in the 90s because the coaches were just upset with it because they kept getting instant replay wrong, right? Oh, yeah. But it came back. And then late 80s. And then late 90s, I think it was 86 to 99. Instant replay instituted in 86. In 99, they instituted the coach's challenge. Okay.
So it wasn't the referees deciding whether or not to review something. That's when the coaches could challenge a player.
And that was so. Those were the last 2 major officiating changes, and that was so. It's been 19 years since the latest one.
Well, 1999 plus 20 would be 2019. Just saying.
Yeah. Okay. But when they introduced it in 1999,
okay,
at the beginning of the 99 season.
Gotcha. Okay.
Either way,
15
to 20 years, David. That was the range.
So you're saying they're due for
so I'm saying now I don't think there's nothing in their plan that says every 15 to 20 years we evaluate officiating.
Right.
But it's almost like every new generation of fans hey, how come the referees are so bad? Right? Or every new generation of head coaches is let's implement that.
So it's more to placate or to solve the problems that have come up over the last 15 years.
Yeah, and you're finally getting rid of the old guard of the previous generation who doesn't want to change anything, getting new blood in the sport. And you can't tell me Sean McVay wouldn't be in favor of more replay, right? Of more reviewable plays, right? And I think that's the next iteration is I don't think we're yet to the point where there's 2 referees on the field and all they do is like spot the ball, right?
And then computers
And the computer's like saying,
lasers and
here's
sensors.
what the foul was. I think the next iteration of officiating, and I hope it happens soon, is that you open up what's reviewable. Because pass interference, not reviewable, right?
And that clearly would have saved a season there.
And also, why are we penalizing head coaches for getting the review wrong? Like, if it's so debatable that the call stands, that shouldn't.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So
Right?
if the call is overturned because it's clear, or if the call is confirmed, it's like, no, we got it right on the field. Now you lose a timeout. But
Yeah.
if the call stands, you keep your timeout.
If your challenge is egregious, right? Right. Yeah. So it was clear. It was a drop pass. You challenge it. It's still clearly a drop pass. Confirmed. You lose that challenge. Okay. But if the call stands, that means that there was not enough evidence to confirm. So why are we penalizing that coach and that team? Why is that costing them a timeout and costing them a challenge? It just yeah. So it doesn't make sense to me. Right? And I think they could do just some slight tweaking of the rules, figure out because they say, well, that's a judgment play. What's not a judgment? Everything's a judgment. Are the feet in
especially
bounds?
in the NFL.
In real time, that's a judgment, right?
Yes, it is. Because you can't. It's all moving too fast. In super slow motion, we can't tell all the time. So how
No.
can these referees make these decisions in real time? Like, go back and watch these questionable plays in real time, with the exception of the Rams pass interference play. Most of these plays are super hard to look at with multiple viewings in real time.
Yeah.
So just remember, these guys are trying to do it in real time. They need some help, maybe with some sensors and some lasers. Very excited. We're unveiling a new segment, which is going to lead us into the last portion of our show here. This is called Objectively Correct. So, of course, we are subjectively correct sports. The idea there is, and we're going, deep inside here, subjectively correct, meaning that you're correct, but it's subjective, right? So we got sports opinions, we got stuff we're saying, but it's all subjective, right? Well, this is objectively correct, where we're just giving you stats. All right, this is just information we're giving you. You can't dispute this one way or another. These are factual things that have happened, or statistics or numbers or whatever that we think are interesting, intriguing, or fun or whatever, and it's called objectively correct. Oh, is that like the NFL prime time?
Yes.
Then it comes to Ed Warner,
Yeah.
ESPN.
All right. Take it away.
All right, first stat, number 1. Fathers and sons struck out by Nolan Ryan.
Oh.
Sandy Alomar Jr. and Sr., Bobby and Barry Bonds, Tito and Terry Francona, Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr., Hal and Brian McRae, Tony and Eduardo Perez, Ducky and Dick Schofield, and Mari and Bump Wills.
Dang. First of all, kudos to those father and son duos, man.
All right, good for them, but Nolan Ryan struck them all out. What's yours first?
Sunday was the first time in NFL history that both conference championship games went into overtime in the same postseason.
Patrick Mahomes was 6 years old when Tom Brady made his first NFL start.
Wow. Over the last 16 years, only 4 quarterbacks have represented the AFC in the Super Bowl. Can you name those 4?
Flacco.
Yep.
Roethlisberger.
Yep.
Manning.
Yep.
Brady.
That's right.
Boom.
Good job, Flacco. You got 1.
Flacco. In 2017, Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers tied for the best depth-adjusted accuracy with 64.8%. That's kind of like true shooting percentage,
Okay.
which takes into account the depth of the throw. The same way that
so
a
the
two-pointer-
difficulty of the throw.
Yes. This season, Marcus Mariota's depth-adjusted accuracy was above 67%.
Wow. Imagine if he played more than half the season.
Word.
Tom Brady has the most playoff winning drives in the fourth quarter or overtime in the Super Bowl era with 12. The next closest is John Elway with 6. Eli has 5 and Joe Montana has 5.
He's
as well.
doubling them up.
Yeah.
He's doubling them up. Okay, so my fourth one was the one you said about playoff games. But yesterday was the first time 2 NFL playoff games, period, went to overtime in the same day. Not just the conference championships, but the first time two
Postseason or
yes.
Okay.
Oh, did I not say that? Yes, two NFL playoff games.
You said playoff. Okay.
So yeah, so not only in the conference championships, but just any two playoff games period went to overtime in the same day.
Nice. James Harden, he's on a tear lately. He's scored or assisted on 50 points in 19 straight games. That's the longest streak in NBA history. So whether by assist or scoring the basketball, he's been involved in at least 50 points, 19 straight games.
That's incredible. I'm James Harden stat again. James Harden scored 57 or more points in consecutive games. In those 2 games, exactly 0 of his points came off assists.
So assist to him. So he created all of it.
He wasn't assisted on any of his 57 plus points for 2 straight games.
Wow.
Okay, I got the one to finish it off.
No, I got last one.
Oh, you got okay.
I got one. Greg Popovich won his 520th road game on the 18th, tying Pat Riley for the most by a head coach in NBA history. The Spurs have the 76ers and Pelicans on the road this week, where he has a chance to break the all-time record. If not, he's got like an 8-game road trip in February that I'm sure he'll do it.
All right. How about that, Pop? All right, the one to close it out. Jazz forward Joe Ingles is averaging 3.9 rebounds a game this year. How about that?
So that's the hard-hitting stats that I love. All right, so we kind of wrapped up. That's funny. We didn't really sync up at all on these stats, and we started off with football and then transitioned to basketball.
And we ended with James Harden.
And James Harden and
yeah.
Joe Ingles.
3.9 rebounds a game for Joe Ingles.
Yeah. All right. So I guess the NBA is a good place to get to next. And if we could just tie a bow on this officiating discussion that we had. I think some of the same things need to happen in the NBA.
Where there's less human error components.
Yeah. How many times in a game do you see a ball go off a player and the referees say, no, possession the other team?
And what's always interesting to me is like early in the third quarter or like in the first quarter, no one's going to argue it too much. They're not going to go to the replay. But it only happens late in the game.
Yeah. And there is replay, in the final 2 minutes?
Yeah, something.
Okay. But you can score just as many points over the other 46 minutes, right? Like, those other 46 minutes matter just as much.
Do they, though? Judge based off of player effort.
Okay, but all I'm saying...
I'm, of course, playing devil's advocate.
Right? I mean, a minute is a minute. Whether it's at the last minute or, there's different strategy and the game takes on a different style in the last few minutes,
and definitely
for sure.
more urgency.
There's more urgency, but... the lack of consistency. Like, why in the last 2 minutes, other than this sense of urgency, why are we reviewing plays then? Like, why shouldn't the desire to be, let's get every call right? And I agree, kind of like calling balls and strikes, you probably don't want to review every shooting foul.
Oh, no.
Okay. But simple things like, did it go out on this person or not? You can in a replay, you can tell in 2 seconds who it went. Everyone at home knows. But the officials have no power to review it.
You know what would change all of this? A sensor in the ball.
Lasers.
I mean, honestly, there are sensors in balls right now that can measure speed, velocity, trajectory, all of that stuff. And it wouldn't be that hard for arenas to put this stuff in the basketball, and you can see, did the ball change its spin? And that's how you can tell if a ball was touched by a player or not. Was the spin altered at the point of contact or non-contact?
Or just like a pressure sensor, right? What was the last point of pressure?
Yes.
Right?
Did it happen when the ball was thrown, or did it happen? Yeah. And so there are lots of ways with technology to solve a lot of these problems. I don't know why we're not going to them.
Mm-hmm. And so just opening let the officials officiate, right? I feel like we're tying their hands behind their back a little bit. Going back to that firefighter analogy. Yeah. We're having them put out fires with water buckets. Let's actually let them use the technology that's available to them. If it slows down the game a little bit, like as a fan, do I care more about a correct outcome or a speedy outcome?
If you're a fan of a team, you want the correct outcome.
Yeah.
You want the game decided the right way in an honest way. If you're just a general fan, you're more worried about pace of play.
And you know what? The league should love this, because what are you going to do as they're reviewing? In-game ad.
interesting innovation this year that they've never done before is there's game action going on the screen over here, and then you have an ad going on the other side of the screen,
Yeah.
right? So up here, like Anthony's face would be like the referees looking at the monitor, or like the players on a bicycle trying to stay warm if you're Todd Gurley. Then over here you have progressive, whatever.
In an era where we have like 80-inch TVs in your family room is becoming the norm, like there's a lot of screen real estate to put an ad in the corner as things are happening.
Right.
Okay? We don't need to go to break every time there's a timeout, every time there's a review. Like, you can keep us in the game and not have it feel so chopped up.
Absolutely.
Like, just think about it, right? I mean, I don't know.
It's interesting how it's things that make perfect sense to every fan out there, but the league is behind.
Yeah.
All right. So you wanted to end the show with a game that you invented, right?
I don't know. It's a guessing game. I don't know if I invented the concept of guessing, if that's what you're getting at.
I guess not.
You know,
what do you got? What do you got for me?
So watching the playoffs this weekend, the AFC Championship Trophy is the Lamar Hunt Trophy.
Obviously.
The NFC Championship Trophy is the George Halas Trophy.
Of course.
So it got me thinking, I don't know much about Lamar Hunt. I know he was a influential owner of the Chiefs and really important to the merger of the AFL, NFL. And don't know much about George Halas, but I thought, interesting names for trophies. They were named after these individuals. So I looked up other major professional sports and tournaments and what the names of those trophies were.
Okay.
Some are like your standard American sports.
Sure.
Some are not.
Uh-oh.
And so I've got a list of 12. I'm putting the over-under at 5 for you.
Thanks.
If
It's a lot
you
of
can
confidence.
associate the correct sport or tournament
Just a sport. Okay.
with the trophy.
Okay.
It's going to start off a little easier and then get progressively harder.
All right. Now, are any of these individual awards?
To the extent the sport is individual, yes.
Gotcha. Okay, so none of these are like MVPs
None
or
of these.
anything like that.
Let me scan.
There's no like Bill Russell.
None of
trophy
these. None of these are MVP or Silver Slugger or anything like
stuff. Okay.
that.
All right. Do it.
Okay.
Let's do this.
So I just want you to tell me the sport.
Go for it.
Stanley Cup.
NHL.
1. Vince Lombardi Trophy.
NFL.
2. Commissioner's Trophy.
This is where it gets fuzzy for me. The Commissioner's Trophy. I'm gonna go with the one of the NHL Conference Championship trophies.
And
Dig.
Major League Baseball.
Oh, which one's that?
That's
the,
World Series.
They call it the Commissioner's
The
Trophy.
Commissioner's Trophy.
Oh man, that was George Mountain Landis. Yeah, it's my trophy. Anyway.
Green
That was
Jacket.
a deep dive into baseball history, by the way. Mountain Landis.
The Green Jacket.
Golf, the Masters.
Yes. 3. Larry O'Brien Championship Trophy.
NBA.
4. The Gentleman's Singles Trophy.
Tennis.
Which tournament?
U.S. Open.
Incorrect. Wimbledon. The Claret Jug.
That's golf.
That's right.
That's the Claret Jug. That's the British Open.
That's correct. That's 5. Okay. Okay, I think you're going to get it with this one. The Triple Crown Trophy.
The Corona Drinking Contest. Horse racing.
Okay, but can you name the 3
The
races?
Kentucky Derby. The Preakness. And the other one. Give me a second. The Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont Stakes.
Yeah, 6!
Boom!
All right, you hit the over. Good job. All right, now everything's gravy. The Yellow Jersey.
Bike racing. The Tour de France.
Yeah, 7. The Borg Warner Trophy. Okay, this trophy weighs 130 pounds, stands 5 feet 4 inches.
This is the U.S. Open doubles tennis trophy. Am I close?
No.
Okay.
It is the Indy 500.
Whatever. Next one.
Okay. The America's Cup.
I don't know. It's like the Piston Cup.
Nope.
He did what in his cup? The America's Cup.
5.
This
4,
is
3.
MLS.
2. No.
Oh.
Yacht racing.
Oh yeah, actually. Okay.
And the Grey Cup.
That's the cup that used to be white. That's in your fridge.
It's the
That's been
very
there for a
old
long
cup.
time.
It's the hand-me-down.
Yes.
It
The
is-
Grey Cup. This is. I have no idea actually. Lacrosse.
CFL, Canadian Football League.
Yeah. Okay.
7. Hey, that was over 50%. Much better than I thought you would do.
Nice.
So,
Cool.
well done.
So is this going to be a staple of the show? Anthony's game. Just a different guessing game.
Perhaps.
Looking forward to it.
I put in a whole 10 minutes of effort on this. So.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow. Are you sure you can swing that for next week's show?
Three separate Google searches.
Whoa, you did 3 Google searches for this?
Yes, and 1 Wikipedia entry.
Whoa, are you
Yeah.
okay? I didn't know all that before
Hanging
we
in
started
there.
the show. I mean,
I'll
we've been
take
doing the
some
show for
ibuprofen
over an
after the show.
hour. Yeah, tell me about it. You must be tired. Do you need anything? Do you want me to go to the store, get you something?
Take a nap.
Take a nap? All right, just tell me what I can do to help you. Because you did 2 whole Google searches?
3.
3 whole
Yeah.
Google searches and a and then did a 1-hour podcast?
Yep.
You must be exhausted.
Tired.
I bet you are. Let's put you down for a nap, buddy. I'll get you some warm milk.
Okay.
Some warm milk and some graham crackers.
Okay.
Don't you call them graham grams? Get you some warm milk and some graham grams.
Speaking of grams, basketball athletes are the best athletes in the world. Tune in next week when we find out why.
That's called a podcast tease.